Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Liam O'Griffin here. This is the MMA Opinion Podcast, and we're going to try and salvage something out of UFC Vegas 20 from last night. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Paul O.D.
How are things? And on this week's show, we are going to be looking at new content that we have coming over on our YouTube channel. We're going to touch on some new fight announcements, and Twitter reacts to last night's main event, as well as Paulo Costa's no excuse.
So there you go. Lots to be getting on with. Let's be getting on.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? What's going on?
There we go. I cut the music too suddenly there. But anyway, so last night's show was it was okay. Like, it was all right, but not a lot to talk about. Not a lot of talking points. So we're appealing today to everybody that's watching in. Please help.
Get in the comment section and make this interesting for us. Yes, please.
Yeah, because like I was actually just shopping there a while ago. I was down in Aldi, right? And I knew I should be back here researching for tonight's show, and I couldn't. The mystery aisle in Aldi was just far more appealing to me than UFC and Vegas 20.
That mystery aisle will pull you in, though, 100%.
Well, I got 10 hangers for €4, so
I mean, absolute bargain. You can also pick up a lawnmower if you wanted, or a chainsaw.
Well, there was a wet vac. I was very tempted by the wet vac. And I actually had a box of screwdrivers in my hand for €22. There was 100 screwdrivers in it. Like, they were all shit, obviously.
They're going to fall apart after 2 minutes.
Yeah, but I damn near put them in the basket, like, damn near. But I should have been back here researching for UFC Vegas 20. But what news items we got anyway?
So we have lots of new content coming on YouTube in the month of March. And we are asking everyone, please subscribe to the YouTube channel for MMA content made by fans, for the fans. Hit the bell to be informed when our videos go live, and just check us out over on YouTube. We do have a lot of new segments coming up. We're going to do a weekly segment called Behind the Tape, where we give you stats pertaining to each card. We're going to have the MMA Opinion Matchmaker is going to be going out after each event, and we're going to do a lot of top 10 shows, which will be coming up as well in the coming weeks.
So we can see there from the channel currently we have 169 subscribers. We're looking to get that up to, we said 250 by the end of what are we at now? We're going into March, so yeah, let's try and get to 250 by the end of March. So if you are an MMA fan, and can you please recommend our channel to other MMA fans and maybe can get them to subscribe? It would really help us out, and we really are excited about the content that we've got kind of working on it here in the background. Lots of the staff members in the MMA Opinion are putting in some serious kind of thought into their little kind of projects and stuff like that.
Yep.
And yeah, it's going to be a blast. So go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you tell other people to do so also.
Yep. And we do have some new fight announcements also. So I'm just going to go through a bit of a list and we'll yap a little bit about each. So you have James Gallagher, Ireland's own, is after being matched up against Patchy Mix at Bellator 258, which is a phenomenal fight. And of course, that's on the card where the bantamweight title is on the line between Juan Archuleta and Sergio Pettis. So it's an interesting one that perhaps a number one contender could come out of that.
And is Brian on the same card?
I'm not sure. Like, he hasn't announced his fight yet, but
okay.
I imagine that will be, because oftentimes they put a lot of Irish fighters on the same card, so I imagine he'll be on the same card.
Yeah.
And go check out his Instagram as well. He'll be announcing that news very shortly on who he's going to be competing.
So that's Brian the Pikeman Moore. Did you know what his handle is? Or?
Yeah, it's at Brian Moore MMA, and he's a part of the MMA Opinion team. We do the Pro-Am's Predictions podcast, and he's looking for some support over there as well. So
yeah,
go check him out.
Yeah, so you can see him actually on our page there.
And he has a huge fight coming up as well, so it'll be a fun one when he announces it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other fights we have are, this is an interesting one actually, we have Zhang versus Rosnami Unis, and we all knew this fight was coming, but it's also been announced for UFC 261, the same card as Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade, and they've announced that Zhang versus Rosnami Unis will be the main event. I mean, so I struggle with this. How is Valentina getting no love? Yeah. Everything she's done.
Yeah.
Now, fair enough. I understand that the strawweight division is older and there's probably more contenders there and it's probably more of an interesting division. But in matchups alone, Valentina versus Jessica is an absolutely top-notch fight. You've got one girl that's arguably could become a double champ. Not simultaneous double champ, but...
Well, both of them could be. Andrade could drop back down to strawweight, couldn't she?
Andrade has held the strawweight belt. That's my
of
point.
course, yeah.
So she has the opportunity to become a two-weight world champion against like someone who's just absolutely cleaning out a division and is a legend and putting on phenomenal performances. And somehow that hasn't got the nod for main event. I just think it's a strange one for me. I would have given that the nod ahead of Zhang versus Unis, as exciting as both those fights are.
And Shevchenko could also go up to bantamweight to challenge Amanda Nunes.
100%.
So you have
that could be in the future.
Two double champs there, fighting off against each other. Yeah, I don't know why. Is it? Obviously, there's going to be a lot more pay-per-views from the Asian market, possibly than what have you got in the other? You've got Kyrgyzstan and Brazil. So is that the thinking behind it? Is there
that must be it? I mean, that's the only thing that I could point to that makes sense. That why Zhang is being marketed heavily, and they originally wanted to bring this fight to China or to Singapore, and they couldn't get that done, so they've decided to do it in Vegas and make her a main event.
Well, that's probably it. So it was probably a done deal before they changed the venue. So that was probably why, they 100%. Probably have the contracts already signed for Weili Zhang with pay-per-view points and all that kind of carry on,
Yeah, you just if you're Valentina, you must feel a little hard done by in this one. For me, anyway. Other fights that are announced also in the strawweight division, you have a very interesting one. You have Wan Xuanan, who's been a bit of a sensation of late, taking on Carla Esparza, the first strawweight champion. And also you have the possible return. It's not set in stone yet, but Hamzat Chimaev is hoping to get that Neil Magny fight in June.
Will I just give you a moment here to just collect yourself, Paul?
Yeah, look, I'm one of the... I'm right at the front. I'm driving the hype train at this point.
You're the conductor.
Yeah, I'm checking tickets to make sure you're on board. But I just want to see the guy get back in there, and I want to see him fight a top-level guy. Magny is that guy. I think Magny gets him one fight closer to a title fight. And we'll find out what level he's at. It's just an exciting one for me to see a guy that there is so much hype behind, and we're going to see what level he's at.
Yeah, no, fair play. I don't begrudge him the match.
Yep.
I'd like to see him tested. That's all I need. I just want to see Kaimev go through a kind of a tougher test,
and
you could check my ticket then after that.
If he beats Neil Magny, I want like a full choo-choo. I'm on board in the first podcast.
Like an Artem Lobov, is it?
Yeah, choo-choo motherfuckers. Yeah, so we're going to touch on Paulo Costa. I mean, this guy, holy shit. He had a litany of excuses the week after the Israel Adesanya fight. And one of our admins at the MMA Opinion just found a new one that was on MMA Opinion or MMAfighting.com, I believe. And he popped it up on the page. It's just insane. The guy, I don't know what's going through his head, but if you want to read that out there.
Paulo Costa has claimed his poor performance versus Israel Adesanya was the result of a hangover. The Brazilian middleweight said chronic leg cramps had left him unable to sleep, and he took to a bottle of wine to attempt to black out. A new addition to the MMA excuse guidebook. It's pretty creative to give him some credit anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, it's bollocks. Like I'm calling BS on the whole thing. It's bananas. How you can, like, what I don't understand is he had a list of excuses the length of his arm the week after the fight and never mentioned the bottle of wine. Now months removed, he when Izzy is fighting again, he's coming up with new excuses again. Just it's bananas. But to be fair to the followers on MMA Opinion, we've had some. He's getting a bit of a roasting on the page here, so we'll go through some of the comments there.
Yeah. Let's cue them up there now so you can see them. So, which one do you want to go for? Carlos Martinez says he was partying with Keith Peterson. Keith Peterson, obviously the legend of a ref who's had his run-ins with Dominic Cruz, and well, to say just
the back and forth Twitter beef with Dominic Cruz as well. Absolutely hilarious.
Caleb Kurt Downey says this makes him look worse, not better.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel AD's MJ did it. No excuses. What the fuck, like? Is that a Michael Jackson reference for no?
It might be Michael Johnson.
I think he's
Tom Saunders anyway has
comment of the night.
Yeah, who the fuck blacks out off of wine? That's spoken like a true man who knows his wine. Anyway.
Enjoys a bottle of wine or two.
Sebastian Livermore, was that the reason he was taunting while getting his ass kicked too? Yeah, so Paulo Costa getting absolutely no sympathy on the MMA opinion page anyway, but does he deserve any? Absolutely not. None
whatsoever. And he's been likened here by Stephen Miller to Deontay Wilder, who of course had a litany of excuses after the Tyson Fury bout as well. Just take your licks when you get them. This making excuse after excuse after excuse, you're making yourself a heel.
But the only thing is that, like, yeah, the heel angle, if he talks so much, is he going to make himself relevant again to actually get another shot at it, you know? Like, we've seen this time and time again with Donald Trump. Like, you just keep saying things until they stick. Is he playing the Donald Trump card, like?
I don't think so. I just think it's naivety.
He's not naive. He's been around far too long. He's not naive. He knows exactly what he's doing.
I can't buy it. If that was the case, he would have been building towards this character at some point in his career, whereas we've never seen it. It's just strikes me as he's really salty about the whole thing, and he's just not letting go of that loss. And it's very similar to Sean O'Malley when he had his first loss and he came out and there was all excuses saying I didn't lose that fight.
Yeah, and Macy Barber's dad as well.
Yeah. So it's a strange one. I don't know. Look, he just needs to get over it and get back in there and put on a performance. Of course, we know now that he's going to be competing against Robert Whittaker in April, I believe.
Yeah.
Phenomenal fight, and he's going in against another killer at middleweight.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see what his excuses are after that one if needs be.
Well, Kevin Faulkner says we're doing great anyway. I don't know. At what are we doing great? At stretching out the UFC on Vegas 20 card. I thank you regardless. I'm not sure I believe you, but I thank you regardless. Timothy Cairns, 2 medal Tim. Terrible excuse, starting to sound like Wilder after his loss to Fury. Got to take the L and move on. Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Spoken like a true competitor.
For sure. Yeah. I just don't buy it. I think it's complete fucking nonsense, and he's only making himself look a bit foolish.
What's the most ridiculous excuse you guys have heard in the fight industry? So let's take boxing, any other martial art, and MMA and combine them all. Has there ever been a more ridiculous excuse than blacking out in a bottle of wine the night before the fight?
Deontay Wilder's the suit he wore to the ring was too heavy. That has to be up there. That is absolutely absurd.
Who was it that was against the one of the Klitschko brothers and had a broken toe or something? And was that? I
want to say David Hay.
Yes.
Not our David Hay,
not
the
our
MMA
David,
opinion, but
you were confusing me there for a bit. Yeah.
Cornrow David Hay. Yeah, I think it was David Hay. Anyway, yeah, he another guy that anytime he had a loss, he had a multitude of excuses on the ready to go. So, yeah, it's just can't buy into it. But we have about another 28 minutes before we can start talking about last night's events. We need to keep talking shit on this matter.
David Hay, anyway, is confirmed by 2 medal Tim. So,
David Hay, yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, and like I say, another guy, and it just seems to be within someone's character that they struggle with this, and they take an L and they take it really badly. I don't know. Yeah, because it's a pattern out of some fighters.
But to give credit where credit is due, there has been a lot of fighters as well who have done the complete opposite. I think McGregor has done a great job, and anytime he's lost, he's taken it on the chin, gone straight out, done the post-fight pressers, and been kind of humble enough and stuff like that. And many other fighters as well. It's more the norm that we have fighters losing gracefully than we have fighters losing badly, I think.
Yeah. In MMA, there are quite a few that lose badly, but just not in this level. Like I look at even Nate Diaz. Diaz like making comments recently that he's never lost the fight and he's never been stopped, both of which are untrue.
It doesn't matter. They're
and
alternative facts.
And that he's cleaned out the lightweight division and there's nothing left for him there. Very untrue. And there's no one at welterweight that's a challenge for him, so he wants to fight lightweights at welterweight.
Yeah.
Also very untrue.
Yeah.
But he's entertaining, so yeah.
And he's going to talk, and that's my point. He's going to talk his way into a fight, a decent fight.
But this is my point. Diaz has been on that talk for how many years? Do you know what I mean? That's his narrative. That's his built-in narrative. I'm the fuck everyone guy.
Yeah.
Whereas Paulo Costa has been quite respectful, and now all of a sudden he takes a bad L and he's just switched. And it was his first L as well, wasn't it? He was undefeated going into that, yeah.
I don't remember.
So maybe we get to see a new Costa. Maybe this is he's going to break out an entertaining side of himself, and he's having as much of a laugh about these excuses as we are.
I'm surprised he didn't.
My dog ate my hand wraps.
I'm surprised he didn't lean into the whole kind of balloon animal thing and say someone left the air out of him or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, this literally popped up before the podcast. We couldn't have been more happy about it, but yeah, look, he's certainly giving us some entertainment anyway. But we have to see him against Robert Whittaker in April. That will certainly be an interesting one.
Yeah, is there another news item there before we move on, or?
Yes, we have. I'm about forgetting myself now. Oh yes, so it kind of ties into the main event last night, but we have Twitter reacts to last night's main event.
Yep.
And in particular, John Jones and Derek Lewis. Now, we're of the same opinion when it comes to John Jones, and feel free to send us all the hate you want.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's getting no love on this podcast.
Anybody that can give us a comment hating on John Jones, we will most certainly share it. We'll feature it,
yeah,
and then we'll ask everybody to follow you on Twitter as well, just to boost your numbers.
Yeah,
so bring it on.
And anyone wants to throw a shade, we'll happily send it back your way.
Well, just to get Kevin in on this one, he is definitely a white belt of excuses. So that's the Paulo Costa one. What do you think of John Jones, Kevin? You could be first in there.
So let's grade them. Let's make a bit of a fucking thing out of this one, since we've got time to kill. You have Paulo Costa, Deontay Wilder, Sean O'Malley, and Nate Diaz. What belt are you giving each of the four of them?
Yep.
See, for me, Nate Diaz is at least a brown belt. At least a brown belt. Man just knows how to roll with an excuse and just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, so we have John Jones was tweeting in. He was having a bit to say about the main event last night. He reckons that the Ciryl Gane and Rosenstruik need to up their output. That Daddy is home soon or something to that. Obviously, he's just kind of he's just kind of basically pissing on his territory, really.
But this is what I don't understand about Jones's tweet. So we all know Jones has been offered. Well, he's almost all but been guaranteed a title fight first up. Why is he going poking the bear further down the division, and guys that are already salty with him because they've got a queue for a year and a half? Because of his presence, and now you're going poking at them and going, I'm going to wind you up and then not fight you. It's bananas. Leave these guys alone, because either one of them could very well put you to sleep. If you're going to go and build a narrative and start talking shit on these guys, go fight one of them. While you're waiting for your title fight, go fight one of them if you think they're that poor.
So this is where I am. I know this is kind of spilling into our extensive review on UFC Vegas 20, but this is where I feel that Ciryl Gane missed a major beat after his fight. Ben Doucet has joined the conversation. Ben,
hello,
you working tonight, Ben?
Hello, all in the kitchen.
Everybody in the kitchen. We're sorry that he keeps putting us on, but you know.
One thing we got to point out here, lads, that kitchen's going to have to sponsor us at some point. They're getting a feature on every show. Every show.
So, but yeah, I reckon Ciryl Gane missed a major trick. I think that certainly at the top level, like, you know, in and around the top 5, top 10 level, you need to use your platform. You win a fight, doesn't matter whether you won impressively or not. You have the microphone, the eyes of the world are on you. you have to have the call out ready, and he didn't. He didn't have a call out. The perfect call out for me would have been Jon Jones, because, as you say, Jon has gotten the golden ticket in. He's going to be skipping the queue and fighting for the title when you have the likes of Curtis Blades. I know he's knocked off the list now at this stage. Derek Lewis, Alexander Volkov, and now
Ngannou is still there. Whoever loses that fight is still going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of these, it's not like we're short of contenders at heavyweight. Yeah. And he just skips over the top of them. So if you're Ciryl Gane or any other heavyweight at the top, you should be highly pissed. Yeah. You should be absolutely fuming at Jon Jones. And when you win a fight, you call his ass out. Yeah. Because he doesn't get, like, Jon Jones is not going to fight next for the title. He's going to sit and let Ngannou and Stipe. So in the meantime, you could argue that he's waiting around and call him a pussy, call him lazy, call him
a cheat,
call it everything. Get that fight.
A PD abuser, a cheat.
Get that fight, because you know what I mean. And it just absolutely drives me mad when fighters don't have their call out ready when they've earned it, when they've earned that microphone time. And this is one thing that I tweeted about as well last night during the event. John Kavanagh always has a little word in the ear with his fighters
before they go on the mic.
Yeah. And no, I've never actually heard exactly what he said, but I know for a fact, because I know how John thinks about these things. He is just reminding them, okay, this is your time. You've earned this spot now. Make this count. You know, call out who you want to fight next, or thank the fans, or remember don't forget your mother over here, or don't forget this, or don't forget that, and remember our win and learn kind of thing, or give him a you know. There's always something there, and Ciryl Gane I think he just shot the bed. That's my
a little bit, yeah. And a lot of people, look, while we're on it, a lot of people hating on the performance and saying that it was a poor showing from him. I completely disagree. I think that I saw one one tweet that was positive towards him. I couldn't even fucking think of the word there.
A tweet.
You can tell that I don't be on Twitter much. But there was one positive tweet after the bout that said, and it was a fighter. I might pull it up there in a second. I can't think of who it was. But he said basically, if you're winning the fight, it's not on you to push and change what's happening, change the course of the fight.
100%.
To try and finish it. It's your opponent who's losing the fight. The pressure's on them to change the course of the fight. I just think absolutely bananas for people to say it was a piss poor performance when he dominated from start to finish. It wasn't the most exciting fight. In fact, it was a boring fight, but he did enough to win the fight.
I don't even think it was boring. I mean, we'll probably get into this in a minute anyway once we start breaking down the card. But I just want to get in a couple of the comments there. So Kevin said, the old saying, if you have anything good to say about someone, say nothing at all.
Don't be defending Jon Jones now.
I don't think he's defending him.
No, Kevin.
I think he's just telling him to shut up. And then he had a think about it, what he was saying. He said, fuck it, gobshite. Yeah. Actually, so when you don't have anything good to say about something, are you talking to us, Kevin? Or are you talking to Jon? I think he's talking to us. Then he rethought about it and said, fuck it, he's a gobshite. So carry on. I think that's what's going on there.
Clarify, are you telling Jon Jones to keep his mouth shut, or both of us?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was both of us, because
it more than likely is that.
That is warranted. Ben Doucette says, that's true. I'll talk to my boss about having an MMA opinion burger. Savage. Excellent. What would be on the MMA opinion burger? Oof. Loads of sauce anyway.
Just loads
copious
of meat.
amounts of cheese.
Loads of meat. Good.
It wouldn't be a vegan burger anyway.
No, for fucking sure it wouldn't. Look at the size of me.
Okay, Kevin, just clarifying, it was Jon Jones he was telling to shut up.
Okay, fair enough.
That's okay. That's
great. You're back in the favourable books.
Of course, Ngannou was laughing at Jon Jones's tweet.
Yeah.
Repeating that Daddy had died. Was it Jon Jones or Derek Lewis? You mentioned Derek Lewis.
Derek Lewis. It was Francis Ngannou that laughed at Jon Jones's tweet.
Yeah.
And that's what you say about your opportunity. Yeah. It wasn't even Francis's window. And he still came in and shit on Jon Jones.
Yeah.
And he already has the title shot.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's the kind of level you need to have to get you those title shots and to get into the reckoning, because a Derek Lewis or a Ciryl Gane or a Volkov, like you said, they've all missed an opportunity to call out John Jones, make the UFC think that that's the fight. And let's say you don't get it now and John Jones picks up the belt. You have a built-in narrative.
Yeah.
When John Jones is looking for his first defense and those guys are sitting out a bit, you make yourself available then.
Yeah, and it's 100%. It's an opportunity. You got to take it. And someone replied to my tweet last night saying that Ciryl Gane doesn't command the attention to make those types of call-outs. And I'm like chicken and egg here. Like it's you get attention and you get notoriety and you get the eyeballs on you by being brash and confident enough
and
to call out somebody. You know, you have to cause some drama. I mean, this is entertainment. I know people would prefer for, you know, it to be more like a sports league where everybody's respectful of each other and go back to the days of George St. Pierre and stuff like that. But even George St. Pierre in his heyday got on his bended knees and begged Dana White for a title shot the first time he fought Matt Hughes. And
there was the whole, I am not impressed by your performance. He did it. He towed the line and he got his shot by opening his mouth, and he was the quietest guy in the history of MMA.
And look at Chael Sonnen going from being generally a kind of an outspoken guy, but not the heel. He became the ultimate heel. And then you had Colby Covington wearing a MAGA hat just so that he could be relevant.
Yeah,
you know?
He befriended Donald Trump to be relevant. How do you feel about that, Leo?
Just got to move on.
So but yeah, look, it was a complete missed opportunity by Gane. But in saying that, he has certainly put himself up in the discussion at top 5, and it's very interesting to see who he gets next.
Yep. Sorry, I'm distracted there reading Ben's one. We talked about that last night, Liam, that it would take a big call-out, shit-talking thing to bait Jones into a fight.
Yeah, and if that's what it takes, that's what you got to do. At the end of the day, John Jones gets more hate in MMA than anybody else, I would imagine. There's very few fighters get more hate than John Jones because of all the antics in his past. So one guy calling him out and throwing a little bit of shade on him probably isn't going to affect him or get him to snap out of it and immediately take a fight. However, you're certainly not going to get a fight by keeping quiet and not mentioning him.
100%. So, are we on the fights?
We do need to talk about some fights.
We do need to talk about some fights. Did fights actually happen? We might as well do the main event while we've kind of already touched on it. Obviously, a championship fight went all 5 rounds, and you had Ciryl Gane was playing the kind of stick and move game. Come here, that first jab he threw. Again, I tweeted about this. That looked like a damn cobra came out his shoulder.
Lethal, yeah.
It was so freaking fast. I nearly asked him to repeat it just so I could see it again. It was like, that quickest draw in the West. Do you want to see it again type of job? Yeah, it was like massive. And that was one of the keys to him kind of keeping Rosenstruik.
I genuinely think it was that strike that made Rosenstruik so hesitant the whole way through that fight, because he knew he could walk onto something without seeing it, and that came straight at him and he didn't see it. So we've shit on a few of the taller, longer fighters in the heavyweight division for not using the tools available to them. The obvious one being
Volkov?
No.
Or Stefan
Struve, who retired recently.
Yeah.
That he could never use the range. He would never able to fight at distance. Gane just showed us he's a master at distance. He's able to completely control a fight when needs be. But Gane has also showed us he has clever submissions. He's very good down there. And he has knockout power and willing to get in and trade against guys he feels comfortable with. I don't understand all the shit Gane is after getting. I think he's just showed us he's more well-rounded than we even believed going into this fight. I thought it was a phenomenal performance.
That was an excellent performance. And I was literally screaming at the screen when Bisping was advising him advising Rosenstruik to move forwards. He was saying that these guys need to move on a bit, and you were saying they were throwing way too much love towards John Jones, and but it was madness. The commentary team again last night, and I talked some shit about Bisping as well last week, that
all the 10-8 rounds, and this time he was talking over his hole for half the card last night. But I don't know, was it him or Paul Felder at one point gave a impassioned speech about that Gane needed to up the pace and that it wasn't an impressive performance, and at this level he should be looking for a finish.
That was Bisping's ranked.
In the 5th round after dominating the fight.
Yep.
That's bananas. And the worst part about that is there's nobody in the arena. Gane could probably hear some of that. And in Gane's head, he's like, I'll turn around and I'll touch you up from this distance as well. Like,
yeah, he would do. I'd pay to see that.
Yeah,
it's a pay-per-view by itself.
Listen, I'm a huge Bisping fan. Always was the whole way through his career. But he needs to fucking relax on the mic.
Yeah.
Like, big time.
Well, Sean Shane from Severe MMA was complimentary of Bisping's ability to score fights. From as opposed to what he was last week. Like he was terrible. He was obviously terrible last week, but apparently on his own podcast he went and actually read the scoring criteria on his own podcast out live, and then was immediately better this week. No, I didn't. I didn't pick up on that, but I saw it on Twitter. But having said that, Bisping was atrocious, and Ben agrees here that Bisping is a god awful commentator. Also that it was more Gane did a great job and Biggie Boy was shite.
Yeah.
Do you say shite over in New York, Ben?
Yeah, that's definitely an Irish thing.
We're growing on you. We're growing on you. Does everybody in the kitchen say shite?
Yeah, I don't know.
Better not get shite on the MMA opinion burger. But so yeah, no, I agree, Ben. I think Biggie Boy was trigger shy. However, the thing is, right, and we've got this dilemma here as well. We've got the Karate Twins. I probably mentioned them every fucking episode that we've ever done here, but we've got two really high level karate guys that do MMA here as well, and they move similar to Gane in that they're very, very fast, very, very light on their feet. You move towards them, they're already gone. They're like twice the distance that you've traveled. They've traveled the same, like twice that distance backwards, you know. And then they kind of pop in and get back out before you get a chance to touch them. So you got the option is you try and chase them down. But as I say, they're moving twice as fast as you away from you as you're moving towards them. So you end up looking like an absolute dope, stumbling around the ring and then walking straight onto a KO. Or, well, that's actually what does tend to happen most of the time. So, and this is what was like beginning to happen with Rosenstruik and Gane. Like Gane was in and out. Rosenstruik couldn't time him, and if he had started to march forward, which is what Paul Felder was saying and Bisping was saying, he would have just got KO'd himself. Yeah. The only thing you can do, well, in my opinion, the only thing you can do with somebody who has a speed advantage is you have to time them when they come to you. You've got to get that timing. Now, easier said than done, but the alternative of chasing after them, it just doesn't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work. Not with somebody with that level of footwork. Yeah. Try and do that to Wonderboy Thompson. Try and do it to Lyoto Machida. Try and do it to Gunnar Nelson. It's just not going to happen. Like,
yeah, the difference, of course, being when you strike, when they're static, they're going to go back. If you strike right after they've struck and you throw multiple punches in combination, you might catch them on the end of something. Yep. But you have no chance if you're just going to chase them around winging punches.
Yeah, you have to literally go at the same time as them. As soon as you see them flinch, you have to throw something, and that's the only way you're going to catch them. And it's not a great option, but like again, somebody with that much of a significant speed advantage, I think it's your best option. So Ben here said that he's only saying shite, so he's on the same level as us guys. Fair play, Ben. We appreciate your effort. Yeah. So yeah, Rosenstruik actually apologized afterwards for his performance, I think, as well. He put out a kind of an official statement.
There was one point where his corner man slammed the octagon, and you could actually hear it when he caught the kick in the second round, and he didn't throw anything behind it. And I imagine it's like that's your perfect opportunity. I imagine it's very frustrating for a coach to see a guy be so hesitant. But like you said, it's a new puzzle. At the end of the day, I know Gane is only after moving to 8-0, but your man Rosenstruik has only had 12 fights, and he finds himself in a position right up at the top of the heavyweight heap. He's probably never seen a guy like Gane before. and he was just a little bit dumbfounded by it for me. That's the take I could get out of that fight. It was just masterful by and very akin to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson actually from Gane.
Yeah. Oh, he was like I loved his approach to that fight because he could very, very easily have gotten knocked out. We saw how easy Alistair Overeem ended up with 3 lips at the end of his fight after dominating for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be a Ciryl Gane dominating for 5 rounds in the last 15 seconds getting knocked out. All for what? So that a casual fan can get a little bit excited. Not me balls. He's like what he's got today after winning that fight is a clear shot now at the title.
Well, he has
a clear path.
Double the money.
Yeah, that's true.
He's ranked number 4 in the world.
Yeah.
He's moved into one of, I think it's another Andy Hickey tweet. I believe he's only one of 6 fighters now with a 5-fight win streak at heavyweight without getting a title shot. I mean, all the positives from that fight, except for he might get a bit of shit from the fans.
Yeah.
I don't think he cares much.
I don't think he cares that much either. So Ben is just confirming there that Rosenstruik said it was the worst fight in his career about himself, and also that Gane took almost no damage. Absolutely, not a scratch on him. And he was checking his Twitter on the way out of the cage. Did you see that?
No,
he was just literally scrolling through his time feed, like this dude
after a 25-minute heavyweight fight.
With a guy that's so dangerous.
Most guys at heavyweight come to the 3rd round are almost blowing chunks in the octagon. They can't get their wind quick enough.
Do you remember Curtis Blades after the Volkov fight, and he couldn't even keep his eyes open during the post-fight presser?
And this guy casually, and he bounced around for the whole fight. There wasn't much action, but he
there was a bit of wrestling there. There was back and forth. There was clinch work there as well.
Limited amount, but even still,
and he got a takedown. Like he powered through a takedown.
Yeah.
He flipped him over at one stage as well. Did a little bit of kind of a Muay Thai style judo trip and flipped him, and
it was like a trip throw. Yeah.
So, like, you know, he it wasn't that he did nothing for 5 rounds, but he was very efficient, I felt.
Yeah, phenomenal. We do have to move on to the co-main event, I suppose.
We're flying. We're 40 minutes in. We thought we'd be struggling here.
We did really well at talking shit at the beginning.
I'm telling you.
We did 25 minutes of absolute waffle, so that helped. But yes, you had Ankalaev and Krylov, and I actually enjoyed this fight. When it initially started and Krylov took the opening round and he was a bit more active, pressed the action. I was wondering about Ankalaev at that point. But the guy that came out in the 2nd round and even more so in the 3rd round, that guy is going to be trouble for anybody at light heavyweight. He's a beast, an absolute beast. Krylov probably should have got him out there in the 1st round. He was very much leading the dance. He was landing at will initially. And yeah, the guy just looked like trouble.
So I feel that it was the check hook from Ankalaev. He landed it a few times in the 1st round, but it didn't start to take effect until
later on,
midway through the 2nd round and so on.
Yeah.
What Krylov was doing in the 1st round was working, but he didn't have the cardio to sustain it.
Yeah.
That was the issue. And he's not a specialist kicker. A lot of his game was down to kicking. Now, if you have somebody who is a better kicker, Alexander Volkov, for example, I think now you have you have a blueprint now on how to beat Ankalaev.
Yeah, but at light heavyweight?
At light heavyweight. No, hang on. Who am I thinking about?
Volkov is a heavyweight.
Volkov is a heavyweight, yes. Don't mind me.
Rakic, maybe? Alexander Rakic?
Is he a kicker? I can't remember. I think he's more of a boxer as well.
Maybe a kickboxer.
So, would he be a kickboxer? Yeah.
I don't know if he's a kick-heavy game, but...
Yeah. But anybody with decent kicking... like
Thiago Santos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I don't like Thiago Santos would be a bad matchup for Ankalaev because they match each other for power, you know, and they both kind of stand in front of each other. But the interesting thing was that in the 1st round, Krylov had the advantage in the wrestling. Yeah. Which was interesting because we kind of had predicted that Ankalaev would have strong wrestling. My computer is after crashing here, I think. Oh yeah, we're back. But then when his cardio started to fade, then that's when
Ankalaev had the edge. Then very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good fight though. Good scrap. I lost my $5 on it.
it was one of the few fights on that card that I actually, main event, co-main event, and maybe one more that I genuinely enjoyed. But that's more so the fact that Ankalaev, I think, is emerging as a real contender at 205 than the performance itself. I don't believe it was one of Ankalaev's best performances that we've seen of him so far. But to get the job done against a very tough guy, and we touched on this in Friday's podcast, I said that I reckon Ankalaev could get him out of there. Krylov proved how tough he is. Like, that guy, he walks through punches, he just eats them.
And I actually was tweeting about it as well. Like Krylov's guard, when he was taken down, was actually very, very good. He minimized a lot of damage, and he attempted a triangle. Now, it wasn't going anywhere, but he had attacks off his back.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of brings us into, there's a bit of a debate going on here, and we might have to separate these two here in the chat room. So anyway, Ben says, Krylov just disappoints me so much. He shits the bed when it matters the most. Andy Hickey said, I can't work out how Paul Craig beat Ankalaev. Ben said, Craig's grappling is like quicksand. That's the only reason why I'm a big Paul Craig fan. I would agree with you there, Ben. I think Paul Craig has the best guard in the light heavyweight and heavyweight division. That dude's hip flexibility is incredible. And what he did to triangle Ankalaev from a very, very, very vulnerable position is exactly why everybody should be stretching, where you should have good flexibility in your hips and using the closed guard from bottom. Krylov did a good job, not as good as Paul Craig, but it just shows like there's no excuse for these big guys. We have a big lump here, as you know, guys, the Ryan Hulk Spillane, and I get him to watch Paul Craig and say, look, this dude is as big as you are, and he's putting his feet on people's hips. Don't you dare tell me that your legs are too long to fit there. You know, it's just not. It's an excuse. So get stretching and get your feet on the hips. But anyway, that's the two boys there going at it in the chat room.
But yeah, I mean, Ankalaev's run up here through the division, it's making Paul Craig look better again.
Yeah,
Paul Craig has just got to a ranking position himself, and I mean, if he could possibly get the word out to run that fight back at some point. No, I don't think that fight goes well for him a second time. The first fight wasn't going well for him until he got landed the triangle. So it would be a tough one, but it's certainly making him look good that that's the only loss on Ankalaev's record. Another one that's dangerous at 205.
So following on from our guest the last night, and actually if anybody hasn't seen our Friday night episode, we had IMAF referee Derek Hickey as our live studio guest, and we actually had a really, really interesting conversation. I think I know Derek for years, and I still got some information out of him on this particular one. But just on the point of refereeing, we had an incident in the ladies' fight between Silva and De La Rosa, where a point was deducted in the first round for a fence grab following an attempted takedown from De La Rosa. Yeah, it was a tough call to make as a referee. It was, I think, it was the right call. He's
not one of the most notable referees. I know him to see him, but I couldn't remember his name now even. But yeah, huge call to make that live on a card, on a UFC card. But you have to factor in as well, and they mentioned it, that referee is a jiu-jitsu player himself and has been in that world for a long time. He knows that both these girls live in a jiu-jitsu world. That's their game. That's what they want to implement. So it was massively changing the dynamics of the fight by her staying up.
Yeah, and it wasn't like just a kind of a little tiny grab at a fence. This
it held her up.
It she was on her ass if not for that fence grab. And you know, he could have given a warning. He could have done multiple. He could have ignored it and kind of slapped her hand and whatever. But to stop the fight and say, right, you're now 1 point down. You have effectively lost that round. Or even if you win that round, it's the best you can do is a draw within that round. And it obviously had an effect on the scorecards at the end, because Silva went on to minus that score, she was well ahead.
See, and obviously they were split on rounds 2 and 3. That it was 9-9, I'd imagine, in round 1. I didn't see the scorecards, and then split on 2 and 3, and that's the reason we got a majority draw. Yeah. For me, it was 9-9 round 1, and Silva actually took rounds 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I still think she was
hard done by.
No, it's a close fight. I'll never say anyone was robbed in a close fight. Yeah. But I think she could feel a little hard done by it. I think she did enough to win that fight. Yeah. But she only has herself to blame.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to do actions like that in there, you have to face the repercussions, and she'll learn from it.
It was a good move as well from Silva at the end of the fight. I thought it was good. I believe, I open to confirmation here by anybody who knows better than me, but when Silva took De La Rosa to the side of the octagon after the fight, after the announcement was made that it was a draw, I believe she asks for both of them to get the win money or something like that, or both of them to be paid or something. I don't understand why she would have went to the cage side otherwise, but like she could have gone over and campaigned for herself, but she didn't. She took her opponent with her, and kind of like, you know, sisters doing it for themselves. They're here kind of claiming some solidarity and said, Dana, pay us.
Dana White didn't even give out the full amount of bonuses on that card. I doubt he's going to pay anyone win money for a draw. Yeah, Dana hated that card anyway. It's the first time I think I've seen ever that Dana only gave out 3 performance bonuses.
Really, I actually didn't see the post-fight
they have
scrum.
You know, they have 200 grand that they give out as bonuses, 50 to fight at night or performance at nights. There's always 4. The odd time you might see 5 if there's exceptional fights on the card. He gave out the fight at night to obviously the bantamweights.
Yeah.
And then he gave performance of the night to Ronnie Lawrence. And that was it.
That was it.
Ronnie Lawrence, the only guy who got a finish on the card. And to be fair, Ronnie Lawrence did a phenomenal performance, and then nobody else got a... Like, if you're Gane, you're a bit pissed that you're not getting a performance bonus on that card.
Absolutely,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
50 grand is big money, even when you're... Like, I imagine his contract, because he's not in there that long, he's
not on pay-per-view points yet, I'd say, yeah.
Definitely not. And like, he's still on relatively small money when you consider the position he is in the division.
Yeah. Which makes his call-out even more important.
I know.
But just getting onto the comments here, we got some love from Mr. Derek Hickey from Ben. That was a really great episode, really smart guy. Kevin agreeing, excellent episode. Two medal Tim, it was a great call by the ref, agreed.
Yeah.
Ben, MMA Junkie, gave round 1 and 2 to De La Rosa. What? I suppose, yeah, well, I don't know what I don't even have an opinion.
So basically what happened there is they saw a point deduction and said, you've lost that round.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, Silva, there's no question in my mind that she won round 1.
Okay.
Like, how could you give that as a 10-8 to De La Rosa? And you can't give it as a 10-9 because there's a point being deducted.
Yeah.
Like, it's either a 9-9 or a 10-8. It was never, and I know it's the deduction, not a 10-8 round, but it was never De La Rosa won that round.
Yeah.
De La Rosa picked for this fight, and I was delighted to see her win, but
just to confirm the correct procedure is you score the round as if there was no deduction to be made. So in this case it would be 10-9 to Silva. And then after the fact, you deduct a point, which would make it the 9-9. Even though it's a 10-point must win, or a 10-point must scoring system. In that case, the Silva would have got the 10, but then deducted after it, and that would have made the 9-9. So I would agree.
But the problem is we're still looking to the old boxing style of scoring.
Yeah.
And generally, a point deduction is rarely given, but a knockdown constitutes a point. So that's our system that we're basing this off. So it's either a 10-9 or a 10-8.
Yeah.
And people think when the point is gone, that automatically it's a 10-8. You can't come back and win that round.
Yeah.
And in very rare circumstances, you might come back and win and draw that round. But it's old and it's antiquated, I think. So no, they might have genuinely thought that De La Rosa won that round, but I just don't think she did. I thought Silva won the round.
Ben is saying that Dana didn't even go to the press conference afterwards.
Did he not? I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's a shocking
indictment on the card.
Of the card, exactly. Couldn't get the word out there.
But the one good fight in the bantamweight division, absolute fireworks. These guys, 5.5 years later, put on a repeat performance and just, whoa. These guys absolutely went to war for a second time. They've been in the cage now for half an hour together. And what I thought was fascinating at the end of the fight when they were hugging and comparing swelling on their shins, I was like, what the hell is wrong with these two guys?
Let's do it again.
Yeah,
so they want to do a trilogy, like, because they're one each now, right?
Yeah, one now. Yeah. And someone said, tweeted, and the commentary team mentioned it, that the next one should be a 5-rounder main event. That, like, I mean, to put those two guys through 5 rounds, because it appears we can't get someone to finish. Pedro Munoz has never been finished, and Jimmy Rivera is an almost impossible guy to get out of there, unless your name is Marlon Moraes, I suppose. But
Yeah.
he's a tough guy to get out of there, so a 5-rounder would be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, that was spot on. Those like calf kicks do it again. I mean, the commentary team mentioned it, that like they've really come into vogue, and particularly in 2021. And there was an attempt on Twitter overnight to get to the first person who started throwing calf kicks, and there was lots of names going around. And my coach taught me it in 1922 or whatever. So it kind of stirred up that thing again. And of course, Dustin Poirier, mid-fight, tweeted out just that leg is compromised, and then followed it up 2 minutes later with another tweet, compromised.
Yeah.
So I tweeted him back and I said, "What the fuck would you know about calf kicks?" I didn't get a reply, but actually, Mr. Hickey, Derek Hickey, and Dustin Poirier are good buddies. Actually, they talk back and forth all the time. So we should have.
I swear, the leg kick things. Yes, the calf kicks. I have it here.
Oh, here we go. Andy Hickey's fired.
So
are you coming up with a stat now? Are you?
Well, not really, but I mean, I could be pulling this clean out of my arse, but it's coming from another source. Danny Chavez, the Colombian warrior, claims that the calf kicks were invented by Cesar Carnero, his head coach at MMA Masters, and that they've been doing it for years out of their gym. And Danny Chavez was one of the earlier guys doing this way before he hit the UFC, and a lot of the guys from the gym were doing this years and years ago. So that's where they claim it's coming from.
I think I might have actually read that tweet as well, and that might be my 1922 reference. But obviously I put legs. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story.
Oh, 100%.
So any other fight on the card? You talked about Lawrence being the only other fighter that finished on the card. Any other fights that were worth talking about?
Nope. Absolutely not. Well, you've Ronnie Lawrence. Lawrence looked good making his debut. But outside of that, I mean, the card was trash. It was so bad. And you'd said you're not staying up for it, because for the people watching in America, this is on at all hours of the morning for us, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And we stay up most weeks for all the events. You said last night you weren't going to stay up because you weren't that buzzed by the card. I said that I might not, and we both stayed up. What the fuck? What a waste of time.
But I was working on I was designing an app for someone, and that's the only reason I couldn't get to sleep, because my head was still active, you know.
Yeah. I stayed up and watched it, and my young fella had me awake 3.5 hours later. It was a more exciting fight with that than there was in any of the card last night.
Andy Hickey asking, could we or us? I don't know. Who were you asking to explain?
Could he explain why Caceres let the triangle go?
Yeah.
Caceres did mention after the fight that he felt like the head was slipping, and he was kind of wearing out his legs at that point anyway. Yeah. So he just wanted to be on strong legs going into the third round.
And Ben saying Caceres looked awesome. I actually thought, I wasn't too impressed with Caceres, I must say, Ben. I thought he was very slow. You know, he has this kind of like a loose striking style. Okay, no, his takedown defense was on point. Yeah. Can't fault him on that. His opponent was obviously looking for the takedown, and he stuffed almost all of them, and anytime he did get taken down, he was straight back up again. Yeah. He was obviously attacking from his back, got the triangle and what have you. But I felt that like his balance was all over the place. He was falling around after throwing punches. He was like, his feet weren't under him for any power punches at all. Against any of the top 5-10 guys, he's getting absolutely slaughtered.
Here's why I wasn't impressed with Alex Caceres last night. Because for me, after a round and a half, Kevin Kroom gave up the ghost a little bit. Kevin Kroom felt like he was beat. He looked like a man that was beat. And for a round and a half, he fought as a really tired man, a sloppy fighter, and a guy that wasn't putting much output out, and just kind of running forward at Caceres, and Caceres couldn't finish him.
Yep. And that's what I was saying earlier about somebody who has a speed disadvantage. If you try and chase down your opponent, that's what you look like. You look like Kroom, who was trying to get a takedown on Caceres. And if Rosenstruik had done that to Ciryl Gane, would Ciryl Gane have knocked him out? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely he would. And that's why I'm not so impressed with Caceres. You're right. Caceres should have been able to finish Kroom. Yeah. He was there for the finishing.
He landed some good strikes in the third round, but never followed up on anything that landed. So I just wasn't that impressed. Yeah. Before we do sign off, we
just a couple of comments.
We'll go to the comments there first. Yeah.
So maybe he was overlooking him a bit. Ben, who was overlooking who? Do you reckon Caceres was overlooking Kroom, or was it the other way around? I don't quite follow you on that one. And Two Metal Tim, Caceres was disappointing. Twice he had chances to finish the fight and couldn't finish him. Yeah, I would argue he had the entire second and third round to finish him as well, Tim.
Yeah.
Like he was basically shooting fish in a barrel, and he just didn't have as a striker, as a so-called striker,
with great submissions as well. Caceres has pulled off some great submissions, so it's just it was a bit
overlooking
lethargic.
Kroom.
Yeah.
Overlooking Kroom. Yeah.
It was a bit lethargic of a performance from Caceres in a fight that the opportunities were there for him to make a statement.
Yeah.
So
now he's on a 4-fight win streak, so he's now going to be taking on a top 10. He's just gonna fall back down the ladder again, I feel.
You don't look. We've seen a good Caceres of late, and the best version of him. I think that was more akin to the old Caceres that was wishy-washy and showed up some days, didn't show up. I don't think he showed up last night, but you would hope that the best version of Caceres, if he does get a top 15 next, shows up.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you there. What were you going to say?
No problem. Before we go, just a reminder of the card that we do have next week. We have UFC 259. We have 4 champions on the card. One of them is a double champion. 3 title fights. Phenomenal card. We're going to get as much content out as we can on this. We have a new feature coming up this week on the YouTube page. Go check that out. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell.
Absolutely, and just in case you don't know, guys, it's the YouTube channel. This is what it looks like when you get over there. There's a bunch of content there already. You know that you can definitely go back and watch some of the interviews. We had at least 2 positive reviews there for the Derry Kicky, which is on this particular video here, the very first one that's on the list. So that's worth a watch. And please, if you could help us get this number to 250, that would be phenomenal. If we could get to the end of March with 250 subscribers, that would be a major boost to the channel, and we'd greatly appreciate everybody's help.
Yeah, and a lot of new content coming as well as shorter form content, little kind of viral videos, so that they'll be enjoyable ones.
There you go. We got through it.
We got an hour out of it, which is I thought it was going to be a 20-minute podcast.
I think we should get a performance of the night bonus.
100%. Dana, where's that 50 G's, baby?
The 50 G's they didn't bother giving out on last night. We'll take it. We'll split it between us. So there you go. Guys, thanks for joining in. Thanks to the comment section that kept us going tonight, because we were going to die a dead otherwise. And we will see you all during the week. And I don't have a catchphrase. I need a catchphrase to finish on.
Nothing to be getting on with. Goodbye.
There you go.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? What's going on?
This is Bruce Lee shit.
Frankie